we hear so many negative things about having children in our culture. There, people talk about child-free weddings, child-free vacations, child-free restaurants, basically that children, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of a lot of people going back to this children should be neither seen nor heard sort of culture. But there was a big kind of cultural dust up a few weeks ago with a singer-songwriter named Chappell Roan, who I have barely heard of. So I don't know if a ton of folks have heard of her, but she was on a podcast and she talked about her friends. She identifies as gay, but she talked about her friends who are parents, young parents. She's probably in her mid 20s. And she said she doesn't know a single one of her friends with children who's happy. And she used things like, they don't have any light in their eyes. They're in hell. None of them have slept. Now that one might be accurate. But it caused a lot of backlash because it was just so negative. A bunch of people told her, responded to her on Twitter and said, you need a bigger friend group, probably. You need some more people in your life. You probably need more people who aren't right in the thick of it, maybe with a newborn where they're completely sleep deprived. And it is really hard. But I'd love to hear from you, Katy, whether you have thoughts on her comments or not, but maybe even just some perspective on what are the best parts that you experienced, the best from each of these stages. There's hard things in every stage when you're raising kids. And now you have 2 adult kids and 2 teenagers. But what would you say were those highlights for those major development sections that you experienced as a parent?
There is so much anti-child messaging going on out there from influencers. And like you said, now we've got these kid-free zones. And it's kind of like the more people don't have children, the more it's hard to have children around you. So it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy in some ways. And children are hard, especially the newborns, especially infants are hard. But it's interesting because, she equates the hard with bad. But the reality is that there's a pretty direct connection with things that are challenging and things that are meaningful. It's almost like the things that are the most meaningful in our lives have the most amount of challenge and sacrifice. And so that is true. When you first have an infant or a newborn or even like the toddler years, I actually tell people, like, if they have a child that's under 3 years old, I say, you're still in the exhaustion phase of parenting. And you really are. Like, even when your child is quote unquote sleeping through the night, they're still getting up a couple times for different reasons throughout the week. And you're just so tired. You don't realize it. Does that mean that they're in hell? Oh God, absolutely not. I mean, it's pretty amazing to have a sweet baby sleeping on your chest. It's amazing to see them start to discover the world around them. It's amazing to see the dependence that they have on you. And like as a mother, how your body sustains them and keeps them alive. And then as they grow, like it's so fun. Like kids are so fun. And I also think this is not something we talk about a whole lot, but we have a very transitory culture where we move a lot. Other people move a lot. We move for the jobs, for economy, because, we're in a city that's woke or it's too expensive to live here. It's hard to have long-term relationships outside of family. And so when you don't have kids, especially because a lot of us didn't necessarily have siblings when we were growing up, like we were in the era where the 2-kid family was, I grew up in a place where I was in the 80s and 90s. Not a lot of people had more than 2 kids. I knew a few people with 3, but not more than that. And so like, it's just a place where we don't have a lot of long-term relationships. Children are in some ways a long-term relationship, somebody that, obviously from the moment they're born, that are going to stay with you. And there's such a richness to those kinds of, we're not just hopping in and out of relationships. This isn't just somebody that I know for a while. There is something about that longevity and that connection. It's one reason why marriage matters so much. It's another reason why parents and children matter so much. So it's sad that there is sort of an anti-child vibe out there. It's a little easier to adopt that vibe when you're in your 20s as a woman, a little bit in your early 30s. You get to your late 30s, your 40s, your 50s, you are staring down a life, especially if you don't have a church community that is there isn't a lot of meaning there. And at that point, it's like a new kind of yoga pants and a restaurant and a getaway vacation. You've done it all. And better to be at that phase of life, watching your children get married and start their businesses and do amazing things in the world and, play in college soccer matches and things like that. I mean, that's where the joy is. So I just want to encourage you, if you've got children at any age, whether it's like the newborn stage, or teenagers that you're just joking with and delighting with, or adult children that you're now watching form their own families. Tell the world how wonderful it is, because we need a counter to those anti-child voices.
It's just interesting how little um, importance is given to the concept of creating actual human beings who, God willing, will outlive you. And it's what are the things that after we die continue on that we've done, other than, if you're going to be that 1% of humans who write the book that someone talks about 100 years later, or a song that people sing 100 years later, how many of us will do that sort of thing with that sort of significance? But creating new human life. And that's why I try to even advise friends that have considered, should I stay at home or continue working, with anyone can actually do your job. Even if you work a really cool, really incredible job, someone else can do it. But to your kid, you're the only person they want home. You're the only mother they want home with them. And these are stages of life, right? It's not that you have to be home, never leaving your house for 18 years. There's all these different stages and different changes, and how big or small your world might be gets to expand and contract. But how there's not anything else as significant as new human life that you get to be a part of, it seems like.
Yeah, well said.